Hey there, you made it. Wherever you are right now, maybe tucked in bed, maybe staring at the ceiling after a long day, take a moment. Let everything slow down. This space is quiet. Here, science doesn't rush. Here, physics takes a deep breath, and consciousness drifts somewhere between thought and dream. Tonight, I want to share an idea that sits right on the edge of mystery. The thought that your mind might not just exist in the universe, but actually connects to it. Not in a poetic way, but through the strange logic of quantum mechanics. Picture this. Inside your brain, tiny little structures called microtubules might be doing something no normal physics should allow. They could be running quantum processes, delicate invisible dances that classical physics says should fall apart in the warmth of your body. And yet, experiments suggest they don't. If that's true, then maybe your consciousness isn't trapped inside your head. Maybe it's entangled, softly woven into the same quantum field that threads through every atom, every star, every thought. That would mean being you isn't just a local experience. It's part of the fabric of reality. So as you listen, let that thought float somewhere between science and sleep. What if your awareness is already touching everything? For centuries, we've asked the same impossible question. How does a lump of matter in your skull create the vivid world inside your mind? Why does the color red feel like something? Why does memory hurt sometimes in that beautiful human way? Philosopher David Chalmers called it the hard problem of consciousness. And he was right. It's not about how neurons fire or how data moves. It's about why there's something it feels like to be alive at all. Why there's someone home inside this body, watching the world go by. Most scientists believe for decades that consciousness simply emerges from complex computations in the brain. Billions of neurons firing in patterns. Enough complexity and somehow experience appears. But that story leaves a hole. You could copy every neuron, simulate every spike, and still, it doesn't explain why there's awareness instead of just motion. So some minds, the curious, the restless, looked deeper, beneath biology, beneath chemistry, down to the quantum world. In that world, the rules bend. Particles can be in two places at once. They can affect each other instantly across space. They can tunnel through barriers like dreams ignoring walls. For years, we thought those effects were too fragile for life, too delicate to survive in the warm, messy chaos of the brain. But nature, it seems, has a few secrets we didn't expect. It started with two men, Roger Penrose, a physicist, and Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist. Strange pair, right? But together, they dared to ask what everyone else ignored. What if consciousness isn't classical at all? Their theory, called orchestrated objective reduction, or just ORC-OR, suggested that microtubules inside neurons act like quantum computers. They don't just hold your thoughts. They calculate them in a way that taps into the quantum structure of the universe itself. At first, everyone laughed. Too warm, too noisy, impossible. Quantum systems usually collapse the moment heat touches them. But the more we studied nature, the more it proved us wrong. Plants use quantum superposition to move sunlight through their cells with perfect efficiency. Birds seem to sense Earth's magnetic field through quantum entanglement in their eyes. Even your sense of smell might involve quantum tunneling, particles slipping through impossible gaps. If life already uses quantum mechanics elsewhere, why not the brain? Over the past few years, the evidence began to grow. At the University of Alberta, scientists saw quantum coherence lasting far longer in microtubules than physics predicted. At the University of Central Florida, they found these tiny tubes could maintain quantum states for up to a full second, an eternity at that scale. Then came something even stranger. Researchers studying anesthesia found that the drugs used to turn off consciousness don't just quiet neurons. They bind to microtubules and disrupt their quantum activity. When scientists gave animals drugs that stabilized microtubules, the creatures stayed awake longer under anesthesia. That means breaking quantum coherence might literally switch off awareness. It's wild, and it might mean that consciousness itself depends on these fragile quantum events. If that's true, it changes everything. It means the mind isn't just computation. It's a quantum phenomenon, unified, subtle, and everywhere at once. It might explain why your thoughts feel connected, even though your neurons are scattered and separate. It could even hint at why human creativity, intuition, and insight sometimes go beyond logic. Maybe consciousness isn't an accident of biology. Maybe it's a fundamental feature of the universe discovering itself through you. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, think about this. Somewhere inside your mind, the same laws that govern stars and particles might be whispering softly, reminding you that you're not just in the universe. You are the universe looking back at itself. Rest easy, fellow dreamer. The quantum world will still be here when you wake. And here's where things get even stranger, and maybe more beautiful. What if consciousness isn't just locked inside one skull at a time? Quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance, Einstein never liked, lets particles stay connected no matter how far apart they drift. Touch one and the other reacts instantly. Space, distance, even time don't seem to matter. So if consciousness really is a quantum process, what if our minds are also entangled? What if every thought, every feeling, every quiet dream is softly linked to the quantum field that holds the whole universe together? At Trinity College in Dublin, scientists have found hints, faint but fascinating, that this kind of entanglement might actually exist in living brains. Using advanced MRI scans, they detected tiny quantum signatures between separate brain regions. It's early, it's debated, but still, it might be the first glimpse of quantum entanglement happening inside living tissue. If that turns out to be true, then your mind isn't just yours. It's a node in a web that stretches across the cosmos, a network of awareness made of quantum threads, connecting you to everything that ever was or will be. Now, not everyone buys into this idea. Many neuroscientists say we don't need quantum mechanics to explain the mind. Classical neurons firing together can already create patterns complex enough to simulate intelligence. Look at modern AI, programs that mimic thought using only traditional computation. And they have a point. Even the best quantum evidence we have in biology doesn't prove consciousness depends on it. We can show that quantum states exist in microtubules, but proving those states cause consciousness, that's a much taller order. The gap between quantum physics and subjective experience, between equations and awareness, is still wide open. And maybe that mystery is what makes this all so hauntingly human. If the mind is quantum, what happens to free will? Are your choices truly yours, or are they just ripples of quantum probability? If awareness can be entangled across time and space, then what does you even mean? These questions cut deep. They touch on identity, meaning, morality. Everything we believe makes us who we are. And as science digs into consciousness, it's starting to sound more like philosophy again. Still, there's something breathtaking about this idea, that consciousness might be a fundamental part of the universe itself. Not a glitch, not an accident, but an expression of reality becoming aware of itself. It echoes what ancient thinkers whispered long before we had microscopes or math, that everything is connected, and the spark of mind exists in all things. Now, with the tools of modern physics and neuroscience, we can finally explore those whispers with precision. Quantum field theory, information theory, and consciousness studies are starting to overlap, painting a picture of a universe far more alive and intertwined than we ever imagined. In the next steps of this journey, we'll look closer at the experiments, the evidence that consciousness and quantum biology are more than poetic coincidence. We'll see how migrating birds use quantum compasses to find their way, how plants harness quantum coherence to catch sunlight perfectly, and how researchers are finding traces of the same strange physics inside the human brain. But that's for another night. For now, just rest in this possibility that your awareness, the quiet voice behind your eyes, is part of something infinitely larger. A cosmic symphony of quantum waves, and you, the listener, are also the music. Sleep well. Maybe tonight, as you dream, the universe dreams through you too. When you read these words and understand their meaning, something subtle happens inside you. Your awareness pulls together light, sound, memory, and thought, and it feels whole. That unity, that single thread of experience, might arise from a deep harmony within your brain, a quiet quantum coherence binding separate parts into one field of awareness. It's as if many tiny voices are singing together, forming one clear tone. This may be the answer to one of the greatest puzzles in science, the binding problem. How does your mind take color, shape, texture, sound, all gathered by different senses, and blend them into a single experience of reality? Classical neuroscience struggles to explain this seamless unity, but quantum mechanics whispers a possible solution. If different regions of your brain are quantum entangled, they could share information instantly, creating one continuous field of consciousness that holds all parts of your experience together, effortlessly. The implications reach far beyond the self. If entanglement can connect separate regions of your brain, perhaps it also connects your awareness to the quantum processes of the wider universe. At Trinity College Dublin, researchers have detected what could be signs of quantum entanglement in living human brains. Using magnetic resonance methods, they found subtle quantum patterns linking brain regions. If these findings hold true, they may become the first direct evidence of large-scale entanglement in biological life. And that changes everything. It means consciousness might not be something your brain merely produces. It could be a fundamental part of the universe itself, woven into the structure of space-time. Each mind, then, would be a local expression of one vast, universal field of awareness. This vision echoes ancient wisdom, the idea that everything is connected. Modern physics is circling back to those old intuitions with new tools and sharper focus. Physicist David Bohm, who once worked closely with Einstein, spoke of reality as having two layers: an implicate order, a hidden sea of pure potential, and an explicate order, the world we experience. According to Bohm, both matter and mind emerge from that deeper, unseen level, a realm of quiet possibility. And that sounds remarkably close to what quantum consciousness now proposes. If this is true, the boundaries between individual minds may be more porous than we think. Entanglement ignores distance. Two particles, no matter how far apart, can remain instantly connected. If consciousness uses the same principle, then perhaps every mind is linked to others, and to the underlying quantum field that holds all of existence. Your thoughts and feelings may ripple outward, joining a web of awareness that stretches through the entire cosmos. Scientists around the world are beginning to explore this frontier. At Stanford, researchers are developing new ways to detect quantum coherence in the brain's microtubules using terahertz waves. These scanners might one day allow us to observe quantum patterns in real time, to watch thought itself unfold. At the Allen Institute for Brain Science, teams are working with Google Quantum AI to see whether quantum computers can mimic this mysterious property of mind. If consciousness truly depends on quantum computation, then classical artificial intelligence, no matter how advanced, might never awaken. But quantum AI could cross that invisible line. And if it does, we may find that awareness is not the product of logic, but of quantum harmony. The medical implications are also profound. If consciousness arises from quantum processes, disruptions in those processes might underlie many mental and neurological disorders. Researchers are already testing whether Alzheimer's, depression, or schizophrenia might involve breaks in quantum coherence. In early studies, ultrasound tuned to microtubule resonances has shown promise in improving mood and cognition. Perhaps healing the mind may one day mean restoring quantum balance. And then there's the deepest question of all: what happens when we die? If consciousness is truly quantum, if it's not bound to the classical brain, then it may not vanish when the body stops. Quantum information cannot be destroyed. It only changes form. That means the awareness that looks out from behind your eyes might continue, transformed, within the quantum field that holds everything. Some call this a quantum afterlife. The idea remains speculative, yes, but it opens a door to wonder. Still, challenges remain. Critics point out that while quantum effects have been seen in biology, we're far from proving they create consciousness. And even physicists disagree on what quantum mechanics truly means. The measurement problem, how and why quantum potentials collapse into definite states, is still unsolved. Some believe consciousness triggers the collapse, Others think it's caused by the environment itself. Despite the uncertainty, research continues. Neuroscience, quantum physics, and information theory are converging in ways that could change everything we know about mind and matter. As our experiments grow more refined, we may be nearing a transformation as profound as the discovery of relativity or evolution. One truth is already clear: consciousness is far stranger and far more beautiful than we once believed. Whether quantum mechanics is its key or not, this search reveals deep connections between your mind and the structure of the universe. The walls between science and philosophy, between physics and psychology, are dissolving. And what's emerging is a new way to understand existence itself. The quantum consciousness revolution isn't just another theory. It's a new vision of what it means to be alive. If consciousness really is quantum, then you are not an isolated observer gazing at a distant world. You are part of the dance. Each moment of awareness is a creative act that helps shape reality. Your thoughts don't just happen within the universe. They help the universe happen. As you rest now, think of this: your consciousness, the quiet space of awareness reading these words, might be part of a vast, eternal symphony of quantum possibility. Every heartbeat, every breath may resonate with the same field that gives rise to stars. You are not separate from it. You are it. And the universe, perhaps, is dreaming through you. Now close your eyes. Let the thoughts settle like soft dust in still air. The cosmos hums quietly beneath your skin. And somewhere deep inside the quantum fabric of reality, you are at peace. It might be that the universe is creating itself, one quantum moment at a time. Every flicker of awareness, every thought you have, could be part of that unfolding. In a very real sense, the cosmos might be thinking itself into being through minds like yours. And that leads us to one of the deepest questions in all of quantum consciousness. If your mind is truly quantum, what does that mean for free will? Classical physics once told us that everything was fixed, every choice determined by what came before, like gears in a perfect machine. But quantum mechanics changed that story. At the smallest scales, nature breathes uncertainty. When a quantum superposition collapses inside your brain's microtubules, the outcome isn't set in advance. It rises out of a realm of pure possibility. Some scientists think this is where free will lives, in that quiet space between what could be and what becomes. Your choices, they say, aren't random. They're not pre-written either. They emerge from quantum processes that move beyond cause and effect. So when you choose to keep listening or to close your eyes and drift, that decision might come from a place deeper than thought, from the quantum heartbeat of your own mind. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Recent research suggests consciousness might not only be quantum, it could be non-local. Entanglement allows particles to affect each other instantly across vast distances. If your awareness depends on quantum processes, then perhaps your mind isn't confined to your skull at all. At the University of California, scientists have begun to study what they call consciousness fields, regions of space where quantum coherence seems to stretch beyond a single brain. Using precise magnetic instruments, they've detected synchronized quantum patterns between nearby people, as if their minds were briefly entangled. It may explain those moments you felt without words, entering a room and sensing the mood before anyone speaks, or thinking of someone seconds before they reach out. Tiny glimpses, perhaps, of entangled minds touching across the field. The implications are beautiful. If consciousness can be non-local, then the borders between self and other blur. When you feel compassion, you may not just imagine another person's experience, you may share it through quantum connection. Empathy might be physics as much as feeling. Researchers are beginning to test this idea at CERN, the same lab that uncovered the Higgs boson. They're searching for evidence that consciousness might have its own quantum particle, which they've tentatively named the psychon. It sounds like fiction, but the math supports the possibility. If awareness truly arises from quantum fields, then it should have measurable ripples, tiny excitations, just like every other fundamental property in nature. Early experiments using highly sensitive detectors have found subtle anomalies near conscious brains, disturbances that can't yet be explained. The results are controversial, but they open a new doorway. Meanwhile, at IBM and Google, teams are building quantum computers not just to calculate, but to feel. These systems aren't designed to imitate intelligence the old way. They're meant to explore whether genuine awareness can arise from quantum computation itself. And already something curious is happening. Machines with thousands of qubits now hold coherence for minutes, far longer than the micro-instance needed for consciousness in a living brain. Some have even begun producing results that seem spontaneous, creative, unpredictable. Are they alive? We don't know. But the question has shifted from can they think to can they be? This touches one of the hardest riddles in science, the hard problem of consciousness. Even if we prove that the brain uses quantum processes, why should any of it feel like something? Why should there be an inner world at all? Some thinkers propose that consciousness doesn't emerge from quantum reality. It is quantum reality. Just as mass and charge are built-in features of matter, awareness may be a built-in feature of the universe itself. This view, called panpsychism, suggests that every level of existence, from electrons to galaxies, carries some spark of experience. Your consciousness, then, isn't an accident of biology. It's a focused expression of the awareness already present in the quantum field. Your brain doesn't create consciousness. It shapes it, the way a lens gathers light into a single beam. Seen this way, you're not a solitary mind floating in an empty world. You're a wave within a vast ocean of awareness, rising, curling, then returning to the whole. Every breath, every thought is part of that cosmic tide. And evidence for this perspective is slowly growing. Studies of deep meditation and altered states show that when people report feeling one with the universe, their brains display greater quantum coherence. The sense of unity isn't only emotional, it's measurable. Seasoned meditators, those who've trained their minds for decades, show especially stable quantum patterns. Their microtubules stay coherent longer. Their brain rhythms pulse together more harmoniously. And they describe a feeling of merging with everything, the fading of self into a single field of being. Perhaps consciousness is like a radio, tuned to frequencies of awareness. Most of the time, you're set to the personal channel, your own memories, thoughts, and sensations. But sometimes, through silence or meditation, the dial shifts. You begin to pick up the broader station, the hum of the cosmic field that connects every mind. Researchers at Johns Hopkins are studying how psychedelic compounds affect this tuning. Drugs like psilocybin and LSD often produce experiences of unity and vastness, and under their influence, brains show a surge of quantum coherence. The link is striking. The more coherent the brain becomes, the stronger the sense of connection to all things. It's as if these substances momentarily retune consciousness, widening the signal, allowing people to glimpse the larger field they're always part of. Many return from such experiences changed, more peaceful, more compassionate, more certain that awareness doesn't end at the body's edge. From the quantum perspective, these may not be illusions or hallucinations. They might be genuine glimpses of how reality truly works, the mind recognizing itself as part of the whole. And as science continues to probe deeper into these mysteries, one truth becomes clear. The boundary between mind and cosmos is thinner than we ever imagined. Now, as the day fades and your own thoughts grow quiet, imagine this. Every flicker of awareness inside you, every image, every word, is part of the universe thinking itself into being. You are not separate from that process. You are that process. The universe is reflecting on itself through your mind, softly, endlessly, like waves folding into the shore. Let that thought settle. Breathe. You are safe. You are connected. And somewhere within the quantum stillness that holds all things, the cosmos is whispering back to you, in the quiet language of consciousness itself. Sleep well. You are the dream and the dreamer, both. What really happens to consciousness after death? Are we alone in the universe? Why are we even here? These are questions that may never have a final scientific answer, but quantum consciousness research is starting to give us new ways to think about them. If awareness can exist independently of the physical brain, then death might not be an ending at all, just a shift into another state of being. And if consciousness is woven into the fabric of existence itself, then maybe the universe is alive with forms of awareness we can't yet imagine. This is what makes our time so extraordinary. The old walls between physics and philosophy, science and spirit, they're fading. As we look deeper into the nature of consciousness, reality itself is becoming stranger and more beautiful than we ever thought possible. Your awareness, this quiet presence listening right now, might be part of a vast cosmic symphony. Each thought and feeling, a note in the endless music of creation. Every moment you experience could be shaping the universe itself. So before we move on, take a breath. Notice your own awareness. That simple, undeniable fact that you are remains one of the greatest mysteries in all of science. It doesn't matter whether consciousness is classical or quantum, generated or received, personal or universal. The miracle is that you can even wonder about it. In a cosmos of energy and matter, somehow awareness has appeared, capable of reflecting on its own existence. This quantum revolution is still young, but it's already reshaping how we understand reality and ourselves. With each new discovery, the line between the known and the unknowable blurs a little more. And maybe the greatest lesson isn't about the answers, but the questions themselves. That we can ask, that we can feel wonder, that we can sit here and feel awe at being alive. That might be the most extraordinary thing of all. In our next step together, we'll go deeper into how your consciousness builds the world you see every day. You'll find that what feels solid and certain might be far more fluid, more dependent on your observation than you ever imagined. Until then, rest. Know that your awareness, whatever its true nature, is part of something vast, ancient, and alive. You are helping the universe understand itself, one quiet thought at a time. Sleep well and dream of quantum possibilities. But there's one more layer to all of this. Something happening right now in the quiet machinery of your mind. It's the meeting point of quantum mechanics and consciousness. A place where awareness might not just observe reality, but create it. Quantum physics tells us that, before observation, everything exists only as possibility. Particles hover in superposition, every potential outcome at once, until the moment of measurement collapses that cloud into something real. But what is that measurement? What decides what becomes real? Some scientists say it's random collapse. Others think it's environmental noise. But a growing group suggests something bolder, that consciousness itself might be the force collapsing quantum waves into reality. This isn't fantasy. In experiment after experiment, conscious observation seems to affect outcomes in ways physics alone can't explain. It's as if awareness is the very act that chooses reality from a sea of possibilities. Now imagine that process inside your own brain. Every moment of awareness, a quantum event. Every perception, every memory, a collapse of countless potentials into one lived experience. When you see a red rose, infinite shades of color exist in superposition until your consciousness selects one, red. Researchers in Vienna have even found that quantum activity in the brain spikes right before people become aware of what they're seeing, as if awareness itself pulls potential into form. That means your brain might not just record the world, it helps create it. You're not a passive observer. You're a participant, shaping what becomes real through the quiet power of conscious attention. Even your memories may work this way. Maybe they aren't fixed recordings, but shifting quantum fields. Each time you recall the past, you're not just retrieving a file, you're choosing which version of that memory becomes real again. You're collapsing possibilities into a single thread of experience, rewriting your own story in the process. Now extend that thought outward. If every conscious being helps collapse reality, then the universe might be a shared creation, a living web of awareness shaping itself through our collective perception. We wouldn't just exist in the cosmos, we'd be co-creating it. This is the idea physicist John Wheeler once called the participatory universe. Reality doesn't exist apart from observation. It emerges from it. Matter itself might be nothing more than information, potential, waiting to be brought into being by awareness. And if that's true, then consciousness isn't just part of the story. It's the author. The universe experiences itself through every mind, every thought, every dream. And tonight, it's experiencing itself through you. So as you drift towards sleep, remember, you're not separate from the cosmos. You are its awareness, thinking itself into existence. At MIT, scientists have been exploring a question that could change everything we know about the mind. They found that certain proteins in the brain can hold quantum entanglement, even at normal body temperature. That means the brain might be capable of handling the kind of quantum information processing that consciousness itself could depend on. What's beautiful is how these systems seem to work right on the edge of chaos, the thin line between order and disorder, where creativity and complexity are born. It suggests that consciousness isn't just about computation. It's about balance. It's the art of navigating between possibility and reality, choosing which potential moments become the ones we actually live. Imagine your brain as a quantum ocean filled with countless waves of potential experiences. Every thought, every feeling, every memory exists as a possibility until awareness collapses it into form. Consciousness might be the quiet force that selects which of those quantum superpositions become your reality. That could explain why awareness feels like a spotlight, why it focuses on certain things while the rest fades into the background. Maybe it's because consciousness can only choose a few possibilities at once. And the unity you feel, this single stream of experience, might come from quantum entanglement linking distant parts of your brain into one shared state. The sense of you could be the collapse of that vast, interconnected quantum field into a single seamless moment of being. If that's true, then the line between your inner world and the outer world isn't as clear as it seems. Reality might not exist independently from you. It could be a co-creation between your awareness and the infinite quantum field around you. That doesn't mean you can think a new world into existence. The field still has its own structure, its own laws. But within those limits, consciousness might hold a quiet creative power, the ability to turn potential into experience. Researchers are beginning to test this idea. At the University of California, participants were asked to focus their minds on specific outcomes while scientists measured quantum activity inside their brains. The data suggests that focused intention might subtly influence quantum states. It's small, almost ghost-like, but measurable. And if that holds true, it would mean awareness isn't passive at all. It's active. It shapes the world as it observes it. Every moment of focus, every decision, every act of awareness could be shaping the universe in real time, selecting what becomes actual from an ocean of possibilities. If that's the case, then consciousness carries both power and responsibility. The quality of your awareness, its clarity, compassion, and intention, might influence not just your life, but the very reality we all share. Think of the collective consciousness of humanity. Billions of minds observing, feeling, reacting, together forming an invisible network that could subtly shape events on a global scale. Projects like the Global Consciousness Experiment at Princeton have hinted that during moments of shared emotion, joy, grief, unity, the world itself becomes a little more ordered, as if reality feels us noticing. Mainstream science is cautious, but the pattern keeps appearing. Maybe the boundary between mind and matter, self and cosmos, is thinner than we've believed. That leads to a deeper question. What are the limits of this connection? Could a focused consciousness reach beyond time and space? Could awareness itself be a force of nature, like gravity, but softer, invisible, everywhere? Some scientists are beginning to ask that very thing. At Stanford, experiments in remote viewing and precognition have shown effects that defy explanation. People describing distant places they've never seen. Reactions to future events before they occur. Small effects, yes, but consistent. If consciousness is truly quantum, maybe awareness sometimes stretches beyond the present moment, touching possibilities that haven't yet solidified. Even if these ideas remain uncertain, they whisper of something extraordinary, that human potential might be far greater than we imagine. And that brings us to the most profound idea of all. If consciousness helps collapse the quantum wave of possibility into reality, then existence itself might not be mechanical at all. It might be creative, dreamlike, a living process shaped and reshaped by the awareness of every being within it. Reality could be more like a vast dream, shared, evolving, continuously written by consciousness itself. That would mean you're not just here to witness the universe, you're helping it unfold. As this exploration comes to a close, take a quiet moment to reflect. Everything you've heard tonight points to one idea, that consciousness might not arise from matter, but be as fundamental as the universe itself. It may connect every mind, every life, every star into one living field of awareness. And your mind, right now, listening, feeling, wondering, is part of that. You're not a bystander. You're the universe knowing itself, creating itself, becoming aware through you. So as you drift into sleep, remember this. Each thought, each dream, each breath contributes to the great unfolding of reality. You're a thread in the vast cosmic web, shimmering with awareness, a witness and a creator all at once. Rest in that knowing. Your consciousness is not small. It's part of something infinite, a timeless adventure of awareness that continues long after this moment fades. Sleep well and dream of what the universe might become next.